Red Glory, The Unfolding History of Manchester United, read and published by Mr. Books. To speak of Manchester United is to speak of more than just a football club. It is to whisper the very soul of a city, to feel the heartbeat of a people bound together by history, hope, and the unyielding pulse of the beautiful game. Beneath the floodlights of Old Trafford, amid the chants that echo through cold northern nights, an epic narrative has unfurled, one of adversity and triumph, of heartbreak and rebirth, of ordinary people achieving the extraordinary cri. Manchester United was born out of hardship, in the smoky heart of industrial England, forged in the fires of determination by railway workers who wanted nothing more than camaraderie and the thrill of competition. From rickety fields in Newton Heath to the palatial grandeur of the Theatre of Dreams, the club has journeyed across centuries. Through war and tragedy, against the cruelest turn of fate, it has risen again and again. No setback, however devastating, has been enough to dull the crimson glow that radiates from its crest. Red Glory is a journey through each phase of United's dazzling evolution. We begin at its roots, a time of humble beginnings, hard toil, and a hunger for identity. We follow the transformation of Newton Heath into a club of national significance, surviving near extinction only to become a symbol of resistance and aspiration. We relive the heartbreak of Munich, the genius of the Busby Babes, and their legacy of courage. We celebrate the unquenchable European ambitions, the golden years of Ferguson's dominance, and the evolving face of a truly global phenomenon. But at its core, this book is about people. The ones who built the stands, the players who have lived and died for the shirt, and the millions who have dared to dream, united under a banner of hope. For Manchester United is not just a name, nor just a team. It is the embodiment of resilience, a living, breathing testament to the power of sport to inspire, heal, and unite. We travel now from the past to the present, from ashes to ascendance, and onwards towards an uncertain but hopeful future. Whether you're a lifelong supporter or a newcomer drawn by tales of glory, may this journey leave your heart pounding and your eyes shining with the red glow that has, for over a century, illuminated the world of football. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. Roots of Red, the Birth of a Legend. In the grip of the Industrial Revolution, Manchester's skyline darkened with the sweat and steam of ambition. Enormous factories, billowing chimneys, and the ceaseless rattle of trains defined the city's newfound purpose. Among hard-working railwaymen at the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railways carriage and wagon works, a spark of camaraderie ignited a spark that would one day set the world alight with passion for a beautiful game. It was 1878 when this brotherhood of workers founded a football team, Newton Heath LYR Football Club. Their world was a muddy patch in North Road, and their kit a mishmash of green and gold, reflected the club's modest means and raw beginnings. Yet, within these men, there was an unyielding spirit, the same spirit that would carry their successors through eras of triumph and turmoil. The early years were a struggle. Life in the lower divisions and regional leagues was a relentless battle, punctuated by hope and heartbreak. But the engine of ambition churned on. As Manchester's population swelled and football fever gripped the heart of the city, Newton Heath became a beacon for the working class. The club was not simply a pastime, it was a statement, an identity, a declaration of pride from those who toiled beneath the smoky skies. But no story worth telling is without its shadows. By the turn of the 20th century, the club was drowning, financially parched, its future uncertain. The threat of extinction loomed as debts mounted, and even the players began holding collection boxes in the desperate hope of survival. It was in these darkest hours, when hope seemed to flicker, that the first miracle arrived. A local brewer, John Henry Davies, saw something in Newton Heath: the grit, the heart, the potential. He stepped in, settled the debts, and, in 1902, breathed new life into the club. With new colours, red, white, and black, the club was reborn as Manchester United. The new name reverberated through the city, echoing the unity, ambition, and pride of its people. Manchester United became a symbol, not merely of sporting contest, but of nothing being impossible should people believe. The fortunes of the club began to change. Fresh investment attracted new talent, and, with it, fresh dreams. It is impossible not to feel awe at how close Manchester United came to oblivion, and how fierce belief and unlikely heroes turned tragedy into renaissance. The red shirt became a second skin for generations, binding communities and inspiring loyalty that was about more than the game. As we linger on those formative years, the echoes of railwaymen's boots and the shouts across muddy pitches remind us. The history of Manchester United is, at its core, a story of community, of defiance, and of the belief that greatness can rise from the humblest of places. The seeds of red were sown here, in hardship and hope, setting the roots from which a legend was destined to grow. Chapter 2. From Newton Heath to Old Trafford Trials and Transformation. The journey from Newton Heath's green and gold origins to the storied shadow of Old Trafford was a saga of transformation, a testing ground not only for the resilience of a football club, but for the collective spirit of an entire city. Those early years, after 1902, were more than a mere change in name and colour. They were a metamorphosis, a shedding of skin that would define Manchester United as a force unlike any in English football. As Manchester United embraced its new identity, the aspirations of fans soared alongside it. Under the stewardship of John Henry Davies, the club invested in talent, recruiting figures who would steer its course through the tumult of early 20th century English football. Ernest Magnol, United's first great manager, arrived in 1903. Smart, determined, and visionary, Magnol brought structure to chaos, ambition to modesty. The effect was transformative. In 1908, United captured its first ever league title, stunning doubters and igniting a city's pride. Suddenly, the team clad in red was no longer struggling for existence, it was leading the charge. The next year, the club lifted its first FA Cup, the oldest and most cherished of English football trophies, in a performance bursting with grit and flair. Yet, transformation is seldom without pain. The club's home at Bank Street was inadequate, a ramshackle ground worthy of neither its growing audience nor ambitions. Once again, the club's leadership, emboldened by newfound success, dared to dream. They chose a new home on the edge of the city. Swaths of land were purchased and commissioned the legendary stadium architect, Archibald Leach. In 1910, Old Trafford was born. The move to Old Trafford, the Theatre of Dreams, as it would later be called, was more than a relocation. It was a declaration. With its sweeping stands and unprecedented capacity, it stood as a monument to the club's vision, a promise to the people of Manchester that United was here to stay. But just as Manchester United seemed set to take its place atop English football, fate dealt a cruel hand. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 shattered the rhythms of life and sport alike. Leagues were suspended, players went to war. United was left to navigate one of the bleakest chapters in its history, its dreams disrupted by global conflict. The post-war years brought struggle. The club, reeling from financial strain and the trauma of war, teetered once more on the brink of dissolution. Ownership changed hands, ambitions flickered, and seasons fell short of earlier triumphs. The resilience that defined those railwaymen now became a defining trait of every red-shirted player who crossed the lines at Old Trafford. Yet, amidst all the uncertainty, the seeds of transformation continued to sprout. The communal bond between club and city, forged in adversity, grew unbreakable. Fans who returned from war found solace in football, a united front. Each match, a reminder that life would go on, that hope would return. The trials that Manchester United endured during these transformative years contributed not just to the club's survival, but to its soul. It learned to adapt, to dream, to fail and rise again. The passage from Newton Heath to Old Trafford was more than a journey of geography or architecture. It was a pilgrimage of spirit. By the dawn of the 1930 SES, Manchester United had survived more hardship than should be asked of any club, but it had mastered the art of transformation. The name emblazoned across that red shirt no longer simply belonged to a football team. It embodied a way of life. Thus, United entered the next era scarred by strife, but resolved for greatness, ready to set the stage for legends yet to come. Chapter 3. Rising from the ashes, post-war rebuilding and triumph. World War II cast a long shadow over Britain, plunging Old Trafford into silence and devastation. The cathedral of red footballing dreams suffered bombing that left its stance blasted, its pitch scarred. Yet, like the battered heart of Manchester itself, Manchester United throbbed with life beneath the rubble. From this crucible, Manchester United would perform one of sport's most remarkable resurrections, a tale as much about resilience as it is about victory. The club that emerged in the post-war years was not the same as before. Old Trafford, now a skeletal relic, had served as a depot for military vehicles. Home games returned only in 1949, after 4 years of exile at Main Road, the ground of rivals Manchester City. Losses mounted as Manchester United paid rent, but the club survived on the tenacity of administrators and the unwavering devotion of fans who continued to turn up in droves. Even in exile, the Red Army made every ground it touched sacred. It was under these dire circumstances that Manchester United's greatest architect arrived, Sir Matt Busby. Hired in 1945, Busby's vision was profound and unprecedented. Where others saw a club clinging to survival, Busby saw the potential for revolutionary football. He insisted on total control of training, team selection, and tactics, a demand almost unheard of then. Busby rebuilt from scratch, nurturing a generation whose thirst for artful, attacking football matched his own. Together with club secretary Jimmy Murphy, Busby scoured Manchester and beyond for young talent, laying foundations for a philosophy that endures today, building from within, prioritizing youth, and combining flair with discipline. The impact was swift and dramatic. United returned to the top flight, and soon the North Stand of Old Trafford bustled with hope. From 1947 through the early 1950s, United captured hearts with its swaggering, attacking play. In 1948, only a few years after the devastation of war, Busby's men won the FA Cup, a cathartic release for a city weary of hardship. Fans wept and danced in the streets. In that silver trophy, they saw proof that life and glory could be rebuilt from ashes. As the decade progressed, Busby's belief in youth bore fruit. The Busby Babes, a precocious group of prodigies, took English football by storm. The likes of Duncan Edwards, Bobby Charlton, and Roger Byrne dazzled crowds. Their fearlessness and style encapsulated the optimism of post-war Britain itself. Youth rebelling, hoping, dreaming, thriving. They captured league titles in 1956 and 1957. Reminders that destiny favored the brave. But for all the joy and brilliance, the club always knew the possibility of sorrow. War's scars endured, and every triumph carried an undercurrent of gratitude, a recognition that each moment of glory was earned by the sacrifices of so many, on and off the pitch. This chapter of Manchester United's story was about more than football. It was about healing, about a city and its club inspiring each other to believe in possibility. The ruins of Old Trafford became a symbol not just of physical rebuilding, but of endurance and hope made stone. The foundation for greatness was set, not just in the triumphs, but in the invincible spirit that declared time and again that Manchester United would never die. As new jubilation met the ghosts of the past, it became clear, rising from the ashes was not an end, but a new beginning. Chapter 4: The Busby Babes and the Munich Air Disaster. The tale of the Busby Babes is one of enchanted promise, halted by unspeakable heartbreak, a chapter where euphoria and tragedy entwine in equal measure. Matt Busby's philosophy of nurturing youthful talent had been vindicated by triumphs and admired for its audacity, but fate had a cruel twist in store. The story of the Babes and the disaster in Munich remains the most haunting and defining episode in Manchester United's illustrious history. By the late 1950s, the Babes had become the darlings of football. Their average age, barely 22, belied their composure, skill, and indomitable will. League championships amassed rapidly, and United dreamed beyond England's shores, accepting the challenge of European football with a swagger born from innocence and brilliance. In 1957, they reached the semi-finals of the European Cup, pioneers among English clubs who had until then shied away from continental competition. In February 1958, euphoria enveloped Manchester United. Having drawn 3-3 with Red Star Belgrade, the team prepared to fly home from Yugoslavia, eager for another domestic tilt at glory. On February 6, their plane stopped in Munich for refueling, a routine interruption, or so it seemed. Snow fell, runways slick, 2 aborted takeoff attempts frayed nerves. On the 3rd, tragedy struck. The plane skidded, crashed, and erupted into flame. The Munich air disaster claimed 23 lives, including 8 gifted players and several staff. The heartbeat of Manchester United faltered that day, not simply for loss of footballing brilliance, but for the shattering of a dream. Duncan Edwards, the most gifted of his generation, succumbed to his injuries weeks after the crash, leaving football fans everywhere to wonder what might have been. The world mourned. Manchester, synonymous with the joy of football, became its epicenter of grief. Yet, amidst the wreckage, the spirit so painstakingly forged by Busby and his boys flickered, improbably, to life. Matt Busby himself, terribly injured, battled through critical days in a Munich hospital, later urging those around him not to let the dream die. Out of this unimaginable loss, the club's essence emerged with even greater clarity. Jimmy Murphy, ever loyal, took charge, painstakingly assembling a squad from reserves, youth, and borrowed players. Against staggering odds, United reached the FA Cup final just months after the crash, a testament to their resilience and the healing power of ambition. The Munich disaster became a defining moment in United's identity, a tragedy that bound the club and its supporters in a way that nothing else could. Annually, the event is remembered in moments of silence, tearful tributes on the terraces, in the verses of the Flowers of Manchester. The tragedy would always remain, but so too would the unquenchable hope that was Manchester United's legacy. It was from Munich's ashes that the club learned, as it would so many times, to rise, to fight for the memory of those lost, to build anew, to honor the past while shaping the future. Every fan, every player, would carry Munich within them, a lesson in grief, courage, and the unstoppable nature of love and hope. United was changed forever, but never broken. From sorrow they would discover the true measure not just of a club, but of a family. Chapter 5. United's European Dream Conquering the Continent. Restored from tragedy, Manchester United approached the 1960s, with the wounds of Munich openly bared, yet galvanized by dreams that refused to be silenced. Sir Matt Busby, surviving against all odds, returned to the helm. There in his heart burned the purest legacy of the Busby Babes, the desire to conquer Europe, not merely as English champions, but as a tribute to those forever lost. The pursuit of European glory fueled every decision, every heartbeat at Old Trafford. Busby, flanked by trusted Lieutenant Jimmy Murphy, rebuilt not just a squad, but a psyche. New names arrived, laden with potential and expectation. Dennis Law, George Best, and a maturing Bobby Charlton, the latter a miracle survivor of Munich, destined to carry both talent and memory. It was no simple task. The scars of '58 remained painfully fresh. The 1960s, for all their promise, would challenge United to prove that triumph could exist alongside loss, that a club can reach for the stars, while forever honoring those who fell. Year by year, step by agonizing step, Busby crafted a side vibrant with artistry and resolve. In 1963, the first rays of hope broke through. Manchester United won the FA Cup, defeating Leicester City in a moment that drew cathartic cheers from a city starving for celebration. By 1965, the league title returned to Old Trafford, an emphatic rebirth for the world to witness. The following years, marked by flair and courage, saw George Best dazzle the globe, his impish magic turning matches into spectacles, his legend growing with every audacious run. But the dream was Europe. In 1968, a decade after Munich, Busby, and United finally ascended to footballing immortality. Wembley Stadium, 29 May. Manchester United faced the mighty Benfica of Portugal in the European Cup final. The match, heavy with history and hope, saw United surge ahead in extra time, with goals from Charlton, Best, and Brian Kidd sealing a 4-1 victory. For the first time, an English club reigned supreme on its continent. Tears fell freely as Busby, flanked by his surviving babes and new heroes, hoisted the cup. For some, the victory was a personal redemption. For others, a final, perfect tribute. This European conquest was not an isolated feat. It was a triumph hard-earned, built from the rubble of pain, elevated by the resilience of a club and a city united in cause. Old Trafford roared, not merely for trophies, but for every soul who had pulled on the shirts, sung on the terraces, wept at loss, and refused to give in. Busby retired soon after, leaving behind a legacy that changed football forever, that dreams, no matter how battered, can endure. That love, loyalty, and brotherhood can outlast any sorrow. The European Cup shone not only as a trophy, but as a beacon United's promise to the world that out of darkness, glory can emerge. Chapter 6. Dark Days and Revival from Ferguson's arrival to Premier League dominance. With Sir Matt Busby's departure, Manchester United entered turbulent waters, their course muddied by managerial uncertainty, near misses, and the ever-haunting weight of expectation. The late 1970s and early 1980s were, in parts, bleak periods marred by underachievement and relegation. In 1974, a dark nadir for a club so closely tied to greatness. Relegation was a dagger to United's pride, a moment that tested the mettle of every supporter. Yet, as so often before, United's family rallied. Attendance did not wane. Instead, Old Trafford was filled with noise, and defiant banners, testaments to a love that had little to do with silverware. United soon returned to the top flight, and while FA Cup triumphs, notably in 1977, 1983, and 1985, lifted spirits, the league title became an elusive grail. Great managers came and went. The likes of Dave Sexton and Ron Atkinson offered flashes of hope, only for disappointment to settle once again. Enter Alex Ferguson in 1986, a fiery, uncompromising Scot whose arrival would forever alter Manchester United's destiny. Ferguson inherited an inconsistent, often fractious squad. His first years were rife with criticism. Many believed his time would be short. But Sir Alex understood what United needed: discipline, ambition, and above all, the nurturing of homegrown talent. Backed by a patient board and an unwavering vision, Ferguson set about rebuilding. He culled veteran squad members, invested in youth, and demanded nothing short of excellence. The reward was slow in coming, but patience paid off. In 1990, United won the FA Cup. The winds shifted. Soon, the Cup Winners' Cup and League Cup followed. But the revolution was only truly unfurled with the birth of the Premier League in 1992. United's blend of seasoned warriors, Brian Robson, Mark Hughes, and electrifying young talents, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, David Beckham, the Neville brothers, heralded a new era. The 1992-93 season saw the club win its first league title in 26 years, ending the drought and unleashing jubilation across Manchester and beyond. United became a footballing juggernaut. Ferguson's team swept all before them, collecting league titles, domestic cups, and, gloriously, the treble in 1999, the Premier League, FA Cup, and Champions League, an immortal feat. The night at Camp Nou, when United scored twice deep in injury time to defeat Bayern Munich, was hailed as the ultimate expression of United's indomitable spirit. Under Ferguson, United was relentless, passionate, a club reborn and rededicated to greatness. In this era, United established its global dominance, building not just a team, but an empire. Results were not the only measure. It was the courage to dare, to dream, and, when necessary, to suffer and rise. The Ferguson era became the template for success, a testament to United's eternal values: resilience, faith in youth, and utter refusal to yield. The theatre of dreams reached new heights, and for generations, the world fell in love with the roar of the Red Devils. Chapter 7: Modern United, Glory, Grit, and Globalization. The turn of the millennium found Manchester United at a precipice not just of English football, but of global sporting culture. The world was shrinking, boundaries were blurring. From Tokyo to Toronto, the brand of United flew on shirts, phone screens, and hearts. But beneath this gleaming surface, the club was in a constant dance with change, a contest more demanding than any 90 minutes on grass. In 1999, with the echo of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's last gasp toe poke still reverberating around Europe, United had become immortal. That summer, children practiced Champions League-winning celebrations on every continent. The treble wasn't just a trophy haul. It was mythology in real time. Sir Alex Ferguson, the club's legendary manager, strode the touchline, his authority unchallenged. But even kings are subject to time, and changes both glorious and grim soon swept through Old Trafford's hallowed halls. The first harbinger of transformation was financial. The Glazer family, American businessmen, completed a controversial takeover in 2005, leveraging United's future on a sea of debt. For older fans, it felt like a betrayal of the club's roots, a northern institution suddenly at the mercy of distant financiers. Protests flourished, green and gold scarves, invoking Newton Heath's origins. Yet on the pitch, Ferguson's men barely blinked. Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, Nemanja Vidic, and an ever-rejuvenating cast brought trophy after trophy. League titles, European glory, domestic cups, proof that the heart of United still beats strong. But glory, once a constant companion, is never permanent. Ferguson's retirement in 2013 marked the end of an epoch. The transition was not smooth. David Moyes, faithful but overawed, faltered. Louis van Gaal brought discipline but little joy. Even Jose Mourinho's silverware felt hard-earned, the football grinding and sometimes joyless. All the while, the world watched as United wrestled with its own identity. Corporate behemoth or community club? Superstar allure or local lad's dream? Off the pitch, United were conquering new terrains: China, America, Africa. The club's social media presence exploded. Pre-season tours became distant odysseys, fueling commercial success, but obscuring the soul of Saturday at Old Trafford. Yet the loyalty remained, fierce and unyielding. Old Trafford still thundered its approval, still mourned its losses, still erupted in hope, because United was, is, and always shall be about more than business. Then came the new wave: Paul Pogba's record return, Marcus Rashford's meteoric rise, Bruno Fernandes breathing creative life into midfield. The pandemic struck, emptying stands, but not spirits, as screens and speakers brought the world together when the world itself felt so apart. Through tumult and trial, one truth emerged: United's story was, as ever, unfinished, a living testament to the enduring power of football to inspire courage, unity, and, above all, belief. In these years of challenge and change, of profit and protest, of heartache and hope, one thing glimmered through: the red of Manchester United, undimmed and undaunted. No longer just the pride of a city or country, United had become a thread in the fabric of the global game, a club for everyone, everywhere, each supporter united in the glory and the grit. Chapter 8: The People's Club, United's Legacy and Future. Manchester United was born in the soot and sweat of working-class Manchester, and though its shirts are now sold in every language, its essence remains singularly human, fiercely communal. For all the silver in the trophy cabinets and the money in the corporate accounts, what truly endures is the unbreakable bond between club, community, and supporter, a living, breathing legacy. Throughout its history, United has been more than a football team. It has been a rallying point during wars, after disasters, in times of uncertainty. Manchester United will rise again. These are familiar words, uttered after Munich, whispered in the bleakest of days, shouted in the rain after defeat, and sung in unison after another glorious victory. This resilience, the knowledge that the red thread never snaps, is what defines the club's spirit. Community outreach, diversity, and inclusion are now central pillars. Manchester United Foundation works tireless in local neighborhoods, providing opportunity, comfort, and inspiration to young Mancunians who see in Rashford, Lingard, or Garnacho the possibility of their own dreams taking flight. The past's darkness, the exclusion, the tragedies, has made future generations all the more determined to raise every voice, to welcome every face. The future, of course, is unknowable. Modern football is mercurial. Fortunes can turn with a single ownership hand, a VAR decision, or a wonder kid's arrival. The global game brings unprecedented pressure from billionaire investors, TV rights, and Super League schemes. The temptation towards the slick veneer of business is always present, but the heart of United, bloodied but unbowed, remains rooted in its people. Social media now weaves supporters from Kerala to Kansas into a single family, voicing hopes and frustrations in real time. The club's decisions are debated in languages once foreign to the city's founders, showing how far the message has traveled. And yet, on a foggy Saturday, outside the Bishop Blaze or the Stretford End Concourse, the old magic lingers, a sense of communion, of collective meaning. As this story unfolds, every supporter becomes an author. The boy racing under floodlights in Salford, the grandmother whispering prayers before a penalty, the young woman in Lagos falling in love with the club online, all are united, all belong. Manchester United's legacy is not only measured in trophies or seasons, but in those moments of transcendence when hope outlasts heartbreak, when music and memory meet inside a stadium, when a goal sends joy roaring through generations. This is a club built by people, for people, forever unfinished, forever pursued. And so, in the glow of red, with eyes turned to tomorrow, we remember this is Manchester United, a people's club, proud and unbroken, still dreaming, still united. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.